Mm. So hello everyone. Hello everyone. We are group 8. Mày mở slide từ đầu tiên đi.
Từ đang đâu? Rồi, lấy đi. Đọc đi.
Okay. Hello everyone. We are group 8 and we have 3 members. Huyền An and Gun. So in the presentation today, we will have we'll get to know the topic political rhetoric and fake news. And so next slide we will introduce our table content. It will include four main parts. The first one is key concept. The second is the chapter summaries. The third one is discussion sections, and we'll come to the last part as the conclusions. So we will come into the very first part, the key concept of the presentation today. We have in total 3 concepts, which is the first one is political rhetoric. Rhetoric is the art of persuasion of using language in a both written and oral way to convince others of one point of view. Yet many perceive such convincing as dangerous, especially to democracies where individual voice matters so much to politics. And the line between persuasions and manipulations is not always clear, and the effects of crossing it can be incredibly corrosive, according to a poet in 2011. So rhetoric plays an important role in politics. Political rhetoric concern the strategy. Nó lắc vậy?
Từ từ nhá. Mày tao tự nhiên nó cứ lắc ấy.
Em nó vẫn còn chữ do website kìa.
Do website đâu?
Ê, slide.
Do website á? Tao thấy đâu.
Đấy, ở bên phải.
À, cái này á.
Slide 4, bên phải. Thế ở đây là table content, thì phần 2 là chapter summary politics. So, political rhetoric concern the strategies used to construct persuasive arguments in formal public debate and in every political dispute. In the classical period, political oratory required a loud voice and formal gesture as orators spoke in person to mass audience. In the modern world, political oratory is typically mediated to a digital audience by textual or electronic means of communications, according to Van Zonen in 2005. So next one we'll have the next term, fake news. So what is fake news? It's the new articles that are intentionally and verifiably false, designed to manipulate people's perception of reality. And fake news is named the word of the year 2017. So the term fake news emerged as a reference to the deliberately false story that Russia's government propagandists and assorted troublemakers around the world were spreading on Facebook and other social media platforms to help or harm a particular candidate, sow chaos, or simply make a quick buck. Weaponizations of information and large-scale manufacture of disinformation have become fixture of contemporary politics. So, in January 2017, the U.S. President Donald Trump started his first day as the president by pushing forward a fight with the country mainstream media such as CNN to climax by using the phrase fake news, and then the fake news phrase has rapidly become ambiguous among Americans because of President Trump, even though this term is not new to them. So even Trump has made a number of fails or misleading claims himself, there is the real problem of the fake news. It is created to change people's beliefs, attitudes, or perceptions, and it has also become a method to stir up and intensify social conflict. Some stories that are untrue and that intentionally mislead readers have caused growing mistrust among people. And in some cases, this mistrust result in incivilities, protests over imaginary events, or violence. And for instance, in one infamous case, a fake news story moved one man to shoot up a pizzeria that was linked by bogus statement to human trafficking and a presidential candidate. So in the incident nicknamed Pizzagate, a man with a semi-automatic rifle walked into a regular Washington, D.C. pizza joint, a Comet ping pong, and a fire shot. So why? He was convinced that the pizzeria contained a hidden pedophile trafficking ring led by Hillary Clinton and her presidential campaign. And where did he comes up with these notions? Our rights community first create these piece of fictions, and fake news website promoted the lie of citing specific locations such Comet ping pongs, and it was then tweeted further by people in the Czech Republic and Vietnam, as well as many bots getting the story much additional attentions. So fake news, political in nature, influenced the man to fire shots inside this restaurant and nearly killing innocent people. And next we'll have the last term, floating signifier. A signifier without a specific signifier, or we can consider that a C sign, also known as an empty signifier. It is a signifier that absorbs rather than emits meaning, following the Oxford reference. And for example, the shot in the drawer series of films is an empty signifier because it is susceptible to manifold interpretations, suggesting that it is brought to the film with almost no specific meaning itself, but functions primarily as a vehicle for absorbing meanings that viewer want to impose upon it. And moreover, a floating signifier may mean different things to different people. It may stand for any signifiers, or may mean whatever the interpreter want them to be. For example, the American flag is at one a signifier of the geographical nations it represents, of patriotism to that nation, or the nation's set of governmental policies, or of the ideologies associated with it, such as liberty. And so depending on the context, the flag can carry either positive or negative significance. And for the activists, a well-crafted floating signifier can be a very powerful tool for catalyzing broad-based actions. For example, Sub-Commandant Marcus and the Zapatista. Zapatista. Mày nói bé lắm à?
Bé lắm á?
Nó chẳng nghe gì cả.
Từ nhá.
And the Zapatistas deploy the concept of the floating signifier masterfully. Markers describe the mask the petitioners wore as a mirror in which all who struggle for a better world can see themselves. And the petitioners' iconic black balaclava was not just a necessity for personal security, but also become a powerful statement of unity and universalities. They declare, behind our black mask, we are you.
Okay.
Yeah, so next we'll come to the chapter summary with Anne will be in charge of this part.
Okay, so in this
What?
chapter we talk about. Mày nghe rõ không?
Có, nhưng video đâu?
In this chapter we talk about firstly Trump's speaking style. So when talking about Trump's speaking style, many people may immediately blurt out a man with poor vocab and uneducated. Though some may not like to hear this, Donald Trump is a rhetorical genius. And during his 4 years in the White House, he has left a mark on American politics and policies. He's also changed the way political leaders talk. Delving into Trump's choice of rhetorical devices offers clues into how successive scandals have failed to make a dent on his popularity among his supporters. So here we will open some videos about the collections of Trump's speech. Please take note about what's special in his speech.
We don't win anymore. We don't win a trade. Great country, great people. You're going to be very happy. Believe me, incredible men and women. We're going to start winning again. Believe me.
I'm not ranting and raving. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm not ranting and raving. Go ahead.
We will have so much winning if I get elected that you may get bored with winning. Believe me. I agree. You'll never get bored with winning. We never get bored.
This is my first stop, officially. We're not talking about the balls, and we're not talking about even the speeches, although they did treat me nicely on that speech yesterday. I always call them the dishonest media, but they treated me nicely. But I want to say that there is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump.
Some people says.
Okay. So that's the videos about some of the significant style of Donald Trump that you may frequently see in his speech. And to further analyze, to go further into details, we have, first of all, Trump's extempore speaking style is laced with a repetition. For example, one of his speeches you can see, we will reform legal immigration to serve the best interests of America and its workers, the forgotten people, workers. We're going to take care of our workers. So with the repetition of the lexical item workers, Trump has been able to, first, make his audience to look back on the previous point of himself and to emphasize his idea. Next, it is his conversational direct address. So in many of Trump's speeches, he uses many command words as overt makers of direct address like remember, watch, choose me, just look at the past, believe me. And he uses the loose forms of reported speech with the words of an unnamed third party like nobody or anybody. For example, here you can see nobody's telling them to leave, stay as long as you want, we'll take care of you, come on in anybody, just come on in, not anymore. And he also have a tendency to rely on a narrow range of modifiers and intensifiers. Very, really, tremendous, great. For example, it's going to end very, very badly, tremendous, tremendous cause. And he also used make use of a generic address term for his audience, like the word fox. For example, here, crime is all over the place. That's over fox. That's over. You know, fox is called a two-way street. Last but not least, we talk about Trump's vernacular foxiness, restricted code, and the language of solidarity. So Trump's public speaking performance during his campaign depends upon paratactic and associative forms of linkage, in which repetition provides an important form of cohesion. He often uses a word or phrase elliptically to stand for a full clause, and the linkage between one element and another is not always carried by explicit grammatical structures and cohesive devices. You can also read the examples from Trump's campaign rally speech in 2016. I have the chance to spend time with these incredible law enforcement, and I want to take a moment to thank them, etc. Có cần đọc không nhỉ? Có cần đọc hết không? Chắc là không. Có cần đọc hết không?
Đọc hết đi.
Okay, tí nữa đọc hết nhá. Ta sợ bị mất thời gian. Okay. And đâu rồi? He often uses a word or phrase. Khoan, từ. Đoạn này bị ấy rồi. Ai có hộ tao từ bản kia ra với, quên lại không có sang bản script. Bản PowerPoint ấy, nhầm, bản gì nhỉ? Bản outline ấy. Cái đoạn này.
Phần nào? Phần ABC nào?
Phần C ấy, phần C cái đoạn cái ý thử khi đây ta bôi đậm đoạn này. Đấy, cái ta bôi đậm ấy, thay cái đoạn đấy bằng cái phần ở trong outline.
Cái gì?
Cái phần ta bôi đậm ở script ấy, mày nhìn thấy chưa? Cái phần C ấy.
Hơi la. C. Thấy rồi.
Đấy thì mày thay cho tao ở outline vào ấy, thay hộ tao cái đấy.
Hay ở cái chỗ mà he style articulate đúng không?
Xem nào.
Đây
này,
đây
favor short đây này, từ cái đoạn favor short grammatically simple ấy. Đây từ đoạn đấy.
Favor short, ok.
Lại bắt đầu đấy, con người. Trump also favors according to Bernstein. He favors short, grammatically simple, and often unfinished sentence. For example, just fancy. Isn't it terrible? Isn't it a shame? It's only natural, isn't it? Similar characteristics of so they are similar characteristics of restricted code designated by Bernstein. And his style articulate impersonal groups' values rather than personal perspective of an individual, and the words are used by children and adolescents that its terms are global, direct, and activity dominated, and refer to a class of content rather than to a specific one, for example, teachers or cowards. And it is a language or code of group solidarity, context-bound, with a strong appeal to taken for granted shared values and attitudes. Secondly, fake news as a floating signifier. And fake news, Trump uses So fake news, firstly, fake news as a critique of digital capitalism. Misinformation in digital media is certainly not a new phenomenon. And the economic structure of internet as the primary reason for the circulation of fake news. If a website can attract a lot of visitors, the owner can potentially make money on advertisements, and this is the key reason for the proliferation of fake news. Em bảo đoạn này nhé. Fake news is a cheap to cái đoạn hai cái gạch đầu, hai cái chấm ấy. Fake news team to produce.
Fake news forwarding à?
Đây này, fake.
Ok, bỏ đi.
Đọc chả hiểu gì. Okay. And also, fake news also relate to the US election and political systems, which are the consequence of digital capitalism. If we apply this critique to the reality, we have examples like Pope Francis' endorsement of Donald Trump, or the surfacing of Barack Obama's real Kenyan birth certificate were not primarily the result of partisanship, but of digital capitalism. Secondly, fake news as a critique of right-wing politics and media. So what is right-wing politics? It is generally defined by the support of the view that certain social orders and hierarchies. Hierarchies are inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable, typically supporting this position on the basis of natural law, economics, authority, or traditions. In other words, right wings also refer to the Republican Party. Consider right-wing partisanship as the main cause of fake news. Krugman in 2014 has attacked to delegitimize the American right by discursively connecting fake information and personality with right-wing voters. BuzzFeed News also found that 38% of posts on right-wing partisan Facebook page were fake news. Fake news as critic of liberal and mainstream media. Fake news is constructed as a symptom of fundamental democratic problem, namely that mainstream media companies are biased and deliberately attempting to promote liberal agendas instead of representing the people. And Trump has insinuated that the term fake news was a political construct created in order to attack delegitimize his presidency, and the term fake news as a tool to attack his mainstream media. So fake news is now much more than a question of true false information. It becomes the focal point of a major political battleground in which the American right wing struggles with mainstream media, liberal and anti-capitalist, to fix its meaning. In this way, fake news become a real floating signifier, epitomizing a discursive struggle and perhaps an organic crisis. Nói tiếp đi anh. Tao sợ là tao bị nói nhiều mà giọng tao nhỏ ấy. Lên video lại.
Giọng to lắm mày.
Thế á? Tí nữa thử nghe lại. Ấy đi. Anh đọc đi. Nhanh lên.
Từ từ.
Trời.
Okay, now let's move to the discussion parts. The question is, has Trump's frequent use of the term fake news changed the view of people toward mainstream media? Cái này có cần cho 10 phút không?
Không. Anh bảo là mọi người có thể post video ấy. Post video lại và nghĩ về cái đó. You post for 5 minutes.
If you have any ideas for this question, you can post the video on YouTube. You can contact us.
Comment section.
Yeah. Oh, okay. On the comment section. So, and here is the suggested answer. Không truyền slide. Yeah, Trump has consistently criticized the national media. During the election period, he repeatedly totally dishonest people. And while the presidency, he has repeatedly called the news organization fake news and the enemy of the people over and over. There are hundreds and hundreds of examples to give one obvious example. There are hundreds of examples. To give one obvious example, he has blamed the coronavirus crisis on the media, saying we are very prepared. The only thing we weren't prepared for was the media. Donald Trump's accusation of fake news have had desired effects. An exclusive poll for the Independent shows that as a significant chunk of the United States electorate believes journalists are biased against him. When they were asked whether they felt the media was against him, 41% of voters say yes and 34% said no. These statistics show that Trump's political rhetoric has somehow had effects on the audiences. And that is our suggested answer. And now let's move to the very last part of our presentation, which is conclusion. Fake news occurs more often nowadays. That raises global concerns, especially when the possible influence of fake news on election outcomes is concerned. For example, in election periods, voters may base the choice of their vote on the wrong information. Fake news also exerts unacceptable impacts to people's perception toward a specific subject. For instance, Nas Daily has gained certain fame on social media by making a vlog about the reflection of the countries it traveled, posted a totally biased video of North Korea, describing North Korea as the most depressing country in the world. Although eventually he faced harsh criticism from the public for his overgeneration and bias. However, his video affected a number of viewers' perception of North Korea. As an insidious form of post-truth rhetoric, fake news find a fertile ground in the complex scenario of a new media and for fertilizers and social phenomena. Indeed, the way the term fake news has itself become a powerful rhetoric device used by different people in different contexts to advance different kinds of political agendas. In addition, the growth of alternative news media and the role of social media as a platform for fake news make the fake news a more urgent matter than ever before. In order not to be deceived by fake news, the people must have critical thinking and always look into both sides of every issue. And that's have to come to the end of our presentation today. And thank you for listening, my friends and teacher.
Ok.
Dài quá.
Anh xem có rút ngắn gọn được không thì rút.
Không